Hey guys, this is the Revolutionary Male. My name is Alex, and again tonight I'm going to go ahead and cover another article. This one from NBCnews.com entitled, Women Won't Achieve Gender Equality for Their Kids Until They Stop Doing All the Housework. Oh boy. Kids will later emulate what they see their parents doing now, no matter how few princess movies you let them see. This was written by Stephanie Farrington, a freelance writer, on May 15th, 2021. So it's a relatively recent article. Let's get into this. Some, usually straight women I know, turn themselves inside out to set a feminist agenda for their children. They refuse to let their kids watch Disney movies and eschew all things pink and princessy for their daughters. They adopt gender-neutral wardrobes for themselves and their children. They carefully purchase books starring strong female protagonists. Again, nothing here about boys. No benefits for boys, I guess. Everything's about the girls. But then they also openly take on the lion's share of childcare and domestic responsibilities, even when they are in two-parent domestic households with straight men, undermining and confusing the feminist messages they're trying to send their children. God forbid. Maybe these women don't work outside the home, and that's their full-time job, taking care of the family, taking care of the house. That seems fair. Don't get me wrong, she continues. The symbolic gestures are not just superficial. They are, in fact, admirable and critically important, as studies show that young girls' communion with the princess industrial complex can affect their self-esteem and body image, and other research demonstrates that books that break with gender stereotypes can help liberate both girls and boys from the limitations imposed by traditional expectations about how they should think and behave. And certainly, resisting clothing that traffics in the future objectification of young girls and women, or which locks boys into traditional gender roles, is an ambitious, noble, and profoundly necessary project. God help us all. It amazes me. Feminism really, at its core, feminism should be about choice. Right? It doesn't seem like that's what this is about. It seems like it's about eliminating all polarity between men and women, boys and girls. I don't know. I think some differences are good and necessary and healthy. But, that's just me. But the real feminist revolution won't begin until work in the domestic domain is eventually distributed among the sexes. Is evenly distributed amongst the sexes. Research shows that seeing an unequal distribution of household and child care labor reinforces traditional gender role expectations, that makes sense, which constricts rather than expands our children's sense of possibility and self-actualization. I don't think so. All the women who are adults now grew up in a less, gender-neutral world. And they've certainly achieved a lot. And the women before them, too, grew up in a less gender-neutral world. And they have certainly achieved a lot. And amazingly, there are actually links here to some of this research, which I haven't read. So I'll be interested to get into that and see, how compelling the evidence is. Seeing their mothers perform the majority of household labor, while their fathers barely participate, means that girls will, generally speaking, grow into women who prioritize their family's needs, and boys will grow into men who prioritize their own needs, said Darcy Lockman, a psychologist and the author of All the Rage, Mothers, Fathers, and the Myth of Equal Partnership. Again, when they talk about domestic labor, they never talk about the stuff that the father does, the men usually do, outside the house, or even repairs around the house. They never talk about that stuff. They never include it in actual domestic labor. Because when you do, you realize that when you include that stuff, domestic labor is actually pretty equal. But, that doesn't fit their ideological position here. This leaves homes unbalanced, she added. Beyond that, research further suggests that our existing lopsided familial configurations result in unfair dynamics between opposite sex siblings, with boys being paid more to do fewer chores. Please. I find that hard to believe. But let's remember, too, that I think it's like 72% of mothers in the United States work full or part-time. So women are out there working. And a lot of women are not out there working full-time. They're working part-time. And if their husbands are working full-time, and the mothers are working part-time, then it makes certain sense that some actual labor in the house, that those women will be doing more of it, right? Even though some women have reaped the hard-fought rewards of more than a century of feminism, for instance, women as a whole earn more college degrees than men, and we sit in more congressional seats than ever before in U.S. history, we can't seem to rid our homes of the gross inequalities that persist between mothers and fathers, especially in the age of COVID-19, even though men today do far more housework and childcare than in previous generations. Oh, look, and it's still not good enough, is it? That's the thing. They're never pleasing any of these people. No matter what men do, or what fathers do, or how well they do it, it will never be enough. This insatiable thirst for this quote-unquote equality. These ongoing household inequities are stymieing the very evolution that some women are buying books and eschewing princesses to try to engender in our children. By shouldering the larger sum of unpaid and undervalued labor at home, even as many of them work outside of it, mothers in these households are unwittingly telling their daughters and sons that women and the work they do are of less value than men and the work they do. Give me a break. The only people who say that this work is not actually valuable and doesn't matter are feminists like this woman. I think the kids will see it and notice it and value all the work that their mother does for them. And most husbands do too. The only people who don't value actually being a mother or being a homemaker are feminists. Furthermore, studies indicate the vast power imbalance at home is one fundamental reason that women don't comparably ascend the corporate ladder. They are thought to be less committed employees because of the heavier weight they carry at home and are treated accordingly. Maybe it has nothing to do with being perceived as being less committed, but that the women are actually less committed. Because once women have children, often those children become the top priority. They lose interest often in their work, their career, after they have kids. It's very, very common. Our society does not value caregiving in any way, but then at the same time tells us it's essential. The eminent family historian Stephanie Kuntz, who wrote the classic The Way We Never Were, American Families and Nostalgia Trap, said, "The complete lack of social support systems for dual earner families and for male caregiving in general puts us in a terrible bind." That is true. I don't see a lot of women out there advocating for stay-at-home fathers. I don't see a lot of women out there or feminists out there telling women to marry men who are willing to stay at home and take care of the kids. No, I see feminists out there telling women, marry the richest, hottest, sexiest, tallest, darkest, biggest man you can find, baby. You deserve the best, girl, no matter what you are. Don't accept anything less. That's what I see. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. She pointed to cultural challenges such as the feminization of domesticity and structural ones like little to no paid family leave that prevent us from achieving parity in the realm of kid and housekeeping. Certainly, as a society, we need to advocate for those larger changes that will create the right conditions for domestic equality. But Kuntz also sees an additional, more individualistic way to materialize that end, like women actively forfeiting the primacy of our familial roles. That's going to go over well. Mom just refusing to do the stuff she's supposed to do. That's going to be fantastic. Absolutely. The kids are going to love it. Dad will love it too. It'll be great for everybody. Women get a lot of satisfaction out of being the one their kids turn to and confide in, she pointed out. No shit, Sherlock. Why do you think they do this? Why do you think they don't want their men doing it? Women don't want men interceding in their realms. That's why those worlds haven't been opened to us. Despite the fact that every conceivable avenue of male achievement has been opened up to women, women have not done the same for men in the realms that women have always dominated. Hasn't happened. Those doors are still closed to us. And that's because of women's choices. One might call that misandry or sexism. They might think, I want my husband to do this, but I want him to understand that I'm the expert and I'll tell him when he's doing it wrong. It's called gatekeeping, she added. Yeah, exactly. It's an impulse women need to resist if they want to realize a more feminist arrangement for themselves and for their children at home. I would advocate for that, absolutely. Just because the father or husband doesn't do it exactly the same way as the mom or wife does, doesn't mean it's wrong. And that's a big issue here. A lot of these women are controlling, and they don't want to actually give over any power to the men in their lives. Part of the reason that some wives might be disinclined, consciously or not, to relinquish their domestic power, to their husbands is that historically the maintenance of the home and the loved ones who inhabit it has been seen as the quintessential expression of traditional femininity's self-sacrificing and self-abnegating demand, and thus linked to their desirability to men. But it's a risk such women must collectively take to remap the power structure in the family. Another reason might be that it is the only realm in which women's expertise is often acknowledged and valued without question. Yes, because it's one that women have historically done, and done well, for a variety of reasons. And yes, it does make them attractive to men. Those qualities are very attractive to men, especially in today's world where they're so friggin' rare. Men, after all, are unlikely to simply decide to want to do work that has been feminized, unglorified, and made unlucrative in the same way, say, women have been galvanized to want to do legitimized and legitimizing work outside the home. Exactly! Especially when the women that we want, who we would be happy to do it for, don't want us to do it, and won't have sex with us if we do it, won't marry us if we do it, won't have children with us if we do it. That makes it kind of hard, right? Women in these relationships might in fact need to get more and more comfortable with and seek out opportunities to fail to live up to gender norms in their families. How about just ceding power? Relinquish some power, feminists. You're so fond of taking it for yourself, actually give some of it up so that men can have some in this realm. That might be an idea, right? Take Mama Bear and the Berenstein Bears, The Trouble with Chores by Stan and Jan Berenstein. Although it is an extremely sexist children's book, oh my God, as Hannah Rosen once noted to Slate, this particular story does offer a roadmap to liberation. It's not sexism if a woman is a traditional woman who wants to do these traditionally women things. It's ridiculous. Feminism should be about choice. So girls should grow up knowing that they have all the choices in the world to do it however they want to do it. And it's not sexist to tell them that they can do it the old-fashioned way, if that's what they want. It suggests that women should just stop taking on the child and household responsibilities, even if it sinks one's family into filth and triggers feuds. In the book, once Mama Bear decides to prioritize herself, preparing for her flower show and knitting with her friends, and retreats from housework and mommying, the whole family does pull together to get the housework done without her, even if it's not done as well as she might have done it. Wow, that sounds like a horrible story. Absolutely terrible. The only condition under which men seem to take on a greater proportion of the work of the home is when female partners are not physically available, the psychologist Lockman said. That makes sense that it would happen that way, right? If work's got to be done and the person who's usually around to do it isn't there, somebody else is going to pitch in. It's kind of the way this stuff works. It's not misogynistic or sexist. It's kind of just the way human nature works. She highlighted the ways that World War II forced women into the workforce and ultimately changed societal attitudes toward their capacities beyond the home front, and wondered if the pandemic will have a similar effect on fathers, pointing to research that showed fathers stepping up when mothers who are essential workers could not be present. Wow! What a surprise! Women stepped in when they were needed. Men stepped in when they were needed. Shocking that human beings actually give a damn about one another. You know, the feminists would have you believe that men never gave a damn about women before 1965. Until that verdict is in, moms may be trying. That's a weird way to write this sentence. And start over. Until that verdict is in, moms Maybe try popping open a beer, kicking your feet up on your lazy boy recliner when the workday is through, and make dad take charge of the dirty dishes and diapers. It'll change your life and ultimately your kids. I would say that's sexist right there, but you know, what big deal, you know. Sexist against men, but whatever. She's essentially just saying that all fathers and men are lazy. But, you know, no big deal, because it's about men. Anyway, that's the end of the article. That was particularly frustrating to get through. But, you know, that's why I'm here. I value you guys a lot, and I want to help, you know, give you a voice for the people who think the way that I do about some of this stuff. Anyway, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave it in the comments section below. I always screw up this end for some reason. If you have any stories that you want to share or articles that you want me to read, you can go ahead and email me at therevolutionarymail@gmail.com. My name is Alex. I'm glad you guys stopped by for this video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a good one. Won't turn off.